There are 6,000 universities across America. Why should you choose North Carolina A&T? We're America's largest and best historically Black university and have been for 9 years. We graduate more African American students in engineering, journalism, liberal arts, and agriculture than any other university. Period. Our graduates of all races and ethnicities earn higher salaries fresh out of school than all but one other UNC system campus. And 96% of our alumni say they return to A&T and do it all over again if given the chance. Can you feel the pride? You will. North Carolina A&T. Always doing, never done.
Well, welcome everyone to the North Carolina Agricultural and Technical State University Alumni Town Hall. I'm Todd Simmons, the Associate Vice Chancellor of University Relations for A&T, and it's my pleasure to moderate tonight's forum. We want to say a warm welcome to everyone who's joined us on Zoom so far and to all of you watching the live stream on Facebook. Let's start with just a few housekeeping items so we all know where we're going tonight. First, let's review the agenda. After I speak in a moment, Crystal Boyce will speak, the Interim Associate VC for Alumni Relations. Chancellor Martin will give a State of the University talk, along with Chief Jermaine Cherry of the University Police Department. Following that, we'll have a Journey to R1 discussion led by Provost and Executive Vice Chancellor for Academic Affairs, Dr. Tanya Smith-Jackson. Following that, a master plan discussion, the very exciting developments that are ahead on our campus with Robert Pompey, our Vice Chancellor for Business and Finance. I'll speak to some new findings from our brand survey that was recently conducted. Vice Chancellor for University Advancement, Ken Sigmund, will talk about advancement and updates in that area. And then we'll go to Q&A to give all of you a chance to get your questions before leadership here and join us in the dialogue. Now, about that Q&A, please know that the Q&A function will be off until all of the presentations have been concluded. We just want everybody to be able to pay attention and really take in all of what's being shared. Once it reopens, feel free to post your questions. Our support team will take each post out of the Q&A and put it into an offline Word document that lets us manage the questions more easily. You'll notice that as that happens, Zoom will mark each of those questions answered. That simply means we've retrieved the question and have it in the queue ready to be asked. And third, we're very fortunate to have Chancellor Martin with us today. He'll be sharing that campus safety update that I mentioned a moment ago regarding the events of the past 2 weeks, as well as related issues. And for those of you who have questions or have reached out to A&T over the past week, please know his presentation will include a detailed timeline and explanation of events. We hope it will address many of your concerns for all of you tonight. And now it's my pleasure to introduce someone who I mentioned a moment ago, a colleague and friend, your Interim Associate VC of University Advancement for Alumni Relations, Ms. Crystal W. Boyce. Crystal.
Thank you so much, Todd. Good evening, Aggies. Happy Thursday. It is so great to have so many of you join us this evening for the Spring Alumni Town Hall. Before I get started, I would like to take a moment of silence to remember the life of Deja Ray Reeves, a freshman student who we lost this week. Thank you. As you know, as of January 1, I had the honor and privilege to serve and start serving as Interim Associate Vice Chancellor for Alumni Relations at our beloved alma mater, North Carolina Agricultural and Technical State University. I shared with you earlier this year that it is my hope that you continue working together with us on connecting with fellow alumni to collaborate on initiatives that support our alma mater while staying connected and committed to the work of A&T's global footprint. Aggies, you always show up and show out. We know that you love A&T, and we heard that and we hear that all the time. Many of you responded what you love most about A&T, and many of you said everything. And we appreciate that because I love A&T as well. And the Powerhouse 4 in the Office of Alumni Relations team does as well. We've been working hard to prepare for many of our signature programs and ensure that we meet your needs for engagement with our beloved alma mater. We've accomplished a lot over the past few months. During the week of Aggie Love in February, we raised $40,000 for Young Alumni Giving Day with the help of 430 donors. Thank you to each of you who donated and supported our giving days, not just that one, but all throughout the year. Our office was instrumental with the February 1 Reading Project initiative. This honors the A&T 4. Many alumni chapters, university leadership, and administrators and staff on campus participated by reading to students across the U.S. We are pleased to share that at North Carolina A&T, we have over 600 alumni who work on campus. We took a moment on A&T's Founders Day, March 9th, to appreciate the work of alumni who choose to work at our beloved alma mater every day. We thank you and appreciate you for the talents you bring back to North Carolina A&T. Our alumni chapters across the country are gearing up in April to celebrate Aggie Pride Month of Service. We want all Aggies to get connected and join us as we celebrate National Volunteer Month and Aggie Pride Month of Service. So if you plan to do a service project, or we encourage you to do a service project in your local area, because we know Aggies love to give back, please share it with us. Email alumni@ncat.edu or share it on social media, #NCAT Alumni. As we prepare for Alumni Reunion Weekend to celebrate the Golden Class of 1973 and the Silver Class of 1998, we have a record number of registrants. If you're in the classes of 3 and 8, stay tuned. We'll celebrate your reunion at homecoming in November. As we prepare for the greatest homecoming on earth, we know and we've heard feedback from many of you about your frustration with the Sheraton Greensboro reservation process. We will continue to stress and support our Aggie family, but we want you to know it's over 70,000 of you, and we have 63,000 email addresses. So we communicate with you on a weekly basis or almost weekly, and all that information went out to everyone. So we know many of you may have not gotten a hotel at the Sheraton for homecoming. However, they have been our partners for 40 years, and we will continue to keep that partnership going and expand our partnerships to other hotels in the city. So we have posted additional partners that we have for this homecoming on our website, and we'll continue to update it as that grows. Aggie family, thank you for all you have done and will do in the future to support our illustrious institution. I want you to always remember, as a part of the Aggie legacy, Aggies achieve great goals in everything and produce renowned individuals dedicated to excellence. That's what Aggie Pride means, and that's what we're committed to every day. Thank you so much, and welcome to the Spring Town Hall.
Good evening, Aggie alumni. It is a pleasure to be with you this evening, as always. And thanks to Ken Sigmund and Crystal for just an incredible job of standing up this forum with all of you this evening as well. And I also want to thank most of my senior staff who have also joined us in this forum tonight to share, a number of them, key elements of what's going on our campus as well. I'd like to focus on at least two key things, although I'm prepared to share a conversation about a variety of topics and certainly be a part of the Q&A as well. The two most important topics I'd like to focus attention on include campus safety and then spend a little bit of time talking about housing. Those two items have seemingly captured quite a bit of attention of our alumni and our community of constituency throughout the past 4 to 6 months in particular in housing, and especially in the last couple of weeks around campus safety. Let me say from the start that we have a very safe campus. The data shows that we have a very safe campus within the boundaries of the campus perimeter. That space that we have the greatest potential for overseeing and protecting beyond those perimeters of the institution out into the community, beyond those perimeters. We don't have as much control, although we partner with the Greensboro Police Department, the Guilford County Sheriff's Department, as well as the FBI and SBI when appropriate as well. But we have a very safe campus. I will make a few comments, and then I'll invite our Chief of Police, Jermaine Cherry, to join me in making a few comments about the key things that he leads as part of the person who oversees campus safety for our university, Jermaine Cherry, who's been with us now for at least 2 years as the Chief of Police, but has some history with our university in former roles as well, and continues to do an exceptional job for our university. There's a lot of misinformation about safety around our campus, and I want you to ensure that you answer your key questions this evening, but it is important for you as alums of the institution to always share what you know. If you don't know the facts, you should reach out so you capture that information from us so that you're key in helping us ensure that we're continuing to address misinformation related to our institution. In this instance, campus safety. All of us are aware of the unfortunate situation that arose on Sunday morning, approximately 4 a.m., March 26th. Now, prior to that date, because of all of the bombing situations that had occurred over the last 12, 18 months across the nation, impacting historically Black colleges and universities, Chief Cherry and his team have been on high alert. They have patrolled our campus more intensely. Chief Cherry has built partnerships more extensively with the Greensboro Police Department, with the Guilford County Sheriff's Department, with the FBI, with the SBI for the state of North Carolina, and with the ATF. And they are, at a moment's notice, available and at our disposal to assist us in quickly protecting this campus, as they consistently have demonstrated in the recent past few weeks. On March 26th, early in the morning, a vehicle arrived on our campus with its lights off. They happened to be following one of our campus security personnel. That campus security personnel, because of the continuing conversations around the intensity of security for our institution, recognized something suspicious, contacted the police department office, relayed the information, and the University Police Department acted immediately in communicating with that security officer and led that vehicle to a open space in a parking lot, well lit. A number of campus deputies arrived on that scene, boxed that vehicle in with their weapons drawn, and extracted the individual from the vehicle. And only at that time did they realize that this individual had a host of weapons in the vehicle. They questioned him intensely. They captured all of the possessions of the individual, the automobile, the weapons. It ranged from a variety of weapons, from shotguns to rifles to a AR-15 rifle, as well as handguns, knives, and an explosive device, and lots of ammunition. You've read about all of this. Our deputies captured all these items, intensely interrogated this individual, and clearly realized that this individual was up to no good. They then, in partnership with the Greensboro Police Department, they took this individual to the police department and jailed him immediately and began to work on the necessary charges to begin to prosecute this individual for arriving on our campus inappropriately with all of these weapons. The chief, with all of the partnerships he had created again, pulled on those partnerships to bring into the investigation with us, Greensboro Police Department, the FBI and the SBI and the ATF in particular, to begin to evaluate the affiliations of this individual with other potential groups, what his intentions were and the like, and began to stand up the charges against this individual. Now keep in mind, no alert was sent out to the campus at that time because there was no imminent danger. We only send out alerts when there's an imminent danger. The threat had already been removed from the campus, and we began to prosecute this individual and standing up all of the appropriate charges based upon the weapons he had, what we perceived his intent to be, and the investigation began intensely with the FBI and the SBI. We expected a substantial bail to be attached to this individual. His name is Brandon James Bentley. We investigated every aspect of him, as well as began to ensure that we were guarding the information and protecting the investigation until there was appropriate time for us to then begin to communicate that information to our constituency, our campus community, and beyond. The next day, this individual had his first day in court. The district attorney pushed for, on our behalf and his behalf, based on all the evidence we had assembled. The judge was agreeable to move the bail from $75,000 to only $100,000. We could not, based upon all of the charges we had created, move that bail beyond $100,000. So shortly after the appearance in court on Monday, March 27th, he and his family posted that bail, 10% of that bail, and he was out free. We also had continued the investigations, the FBI and the SBI, but also guarding the investigation while we were also ensuring that this individual was constantly monitored and was trespassed against our university, which meant he had no intentions of ever, based on our interactions, allowing him to return to our campus. So we believe that campus to be safe. Now, clearly, as we observed the investigation occurring, we anticipated that the media was going to get hold of the story, and we needed to begin to prepare to share a message to our broader constituency at that time. Yes, we probably should have said something earlier. Out of an abundance of caution in protecting the investigation, we elected not to do so. I take blame for that. We suggested that we should have done so earlier, but we continue to protect the information so that we could ensure that we were going to put this individual away for as long as we possibly could, ensuring that we're also protecting the campus. Our commitment is that while we did not communicate earlier, as some would have hoped that we had and expected that we would have done so, we finally did do so. And my commitment to you is, as we evaluate potentially any such situations like this in the future, we will reassess our communication strategy. General Counsel Holloway, who's on this Zoom meeting with us today, will also continue to help us assess our communication strategy to ensure that while we're protecting the evidence and the investigation, we're also balancing that against the importance of sharing the information that's a need to know for our constituency as well. Now, unfortunately, contributing to the misinformation was the instances of two circumstances that occurred in that same window. One was on the same evening, there were some other intruders in and around our campus who fired shots that hit a parked vehicle. Police investigated the matter immediately. We issued a alert to the campus because we were not aware of where the individuals were, and we perceived that to be imminent danger. Once the investigation was completed and all things were considered to be clear, we released the alert and allowed the campus constituency to move about freely. That occurred on the same weekend. Just last week, we had a false alarm. An individual called the police department, indicating that there was an individual on the campus with a weapon. The chief and his staff immediately began to investigate the matter and realized that it was a rumor. We sent out a notice to our constituency through our typical channels, emails, as well as through social media, that this was indeed a rumor. None of these instances were connected. Some of you, students, individuals in the community, connected all these items and connected them all back to, unfortunately, Mr. Brandon, which had nothing to do with his circumstance. And so each of these were independent issues, had nothing again to do with Mr. Brandon. We are convinced he will not be showing up again on our campus. If he does, we have immediate technology that allows us to detect his presence, as well as the heightened focus of our security personnel to ensure that we're protecting the campus. So we believe the campus is safe. The investigation continues to the FBI. The SBI has stepped out of the investigation, but the FBI continues to be involved in the process with ATF as well. Now, having said that, what I would like Chief Cherry to do is spend a few minutes sharing with you the significant investments we continue to make in personnel, in technology, and strategy for ensuring that we maintain a very safe campus in North Carolina A&T. And I encourage you to go to our website, where we are required to post our security reports that every institution of higher education is required to submit annually. And you'll find our security report that reflects on all of the key incidences of crime or related matters on our campus. And you'll see that we are one of the safest campuses within the UNC system and beyond, because of the investments we continue to make as a university as well. You need to get these facts so that you are not participating in the sharing of misinformation or continuing rumors as well. With that in mind, Chief Cherry, if you would step in and make a few comments about the significant investments in the strategy you continue to lead as our Chief of Police at North Carolina A&T.
Thank you so much, Chancellor. And hello, alumni. I want to talk a little bit about what we're doing as a police agency. But let me say a little bit about our structure as a police department. So first and foremost, there's a fully functional police department on the campus of North Carolina A&T State University with full arrest powers given by the state of North Carolina. We go through the same training that any other law enforcement agency goes to. That includes municipal agencies, campus law enforcement agencies. In fact, we train together, we all work together on a daily basis. And so you have here at North Carolina A&T a combination of police officers. We also have unarmed security officers as well that patrols the campus daily as well as nightly. We have a cadre of security officers in every residence hall on the campus of A&T, as well as in many of the academic and office buildings on campus. We have situated security in those spaces as well. And so we work together in tandem as a team to make sure that campus safety is realized here on this campus. We have made great investments in the area of technology that is used to enhance campus safety as well. Some of those technological advances we have invested in include the use and the standing up of a drone program here at North Carolina A&T. So now we have a drone program that is significant, the first university in the UNC system to stand up a drone program. It is used as a force multiplier with a lot of great features. Some of those include picture and video surveillance when needed. It also includes object tracking. We use the drone for damage assessments and those types of things, and also to perform, when necessary, grid searches. It's just a great force multiplier. We also have situated on the campus many blue light emergency phones, which are designed to put one in contact with the police department immediately. So when the blue light phones are activated, it's designed to light up and spin and bring attention to where you are, where it dials directly into the police department, where you can talk real time with a dispatcher. We took it a step further. We said, well, how about we put that blue light phone in your pocket or in the palm of your hand? And so the university has invested in a mobile app that is called Safe Zone. Safe Zone. So that is a free app that is available to all students, faculty, and staff that puts that blue light in the palm of their hand. And this app has a lot of great features. It has a mental health resource feature where a student, if they are experiencing a mental health episode, all they have to do is press the button on that app and it'll put them in contact with a counselor. It has emergency buttons, so you can press that and get a hold of the police, or you can get a hold of all types of resources just by that application itself. The university is outfitted with a lot of camera surveillance throughout the campus community as well. We invested in the last 2 years in what is called flock license plate readers. And so at the entrances of campus, we now have the ability to understand and know who is frequenting our campus on a daily basis by use of those flock cameras. Again, we are the first institution within the UNC system to make this investment into the flock LPR system. And finally, we have the ability, if necessary, to lock down our campus at the press of a button through our lockdown devices that are placed on most of the buildings throughout the UNC, throughout the university. And so we also have a plan of placing those type of devices on the remaining buildings that don't have that technology, but we are well on our way. And so we have made all of these significant investments here at A&T to help facilitate safety on the campus. But guess what? There is a human element in this. Even though we have all of this technology, we still depend on the campus community, our students, faculty, and staff to work together with us to make sure that the campus is safe. We need one another. And so we rely very heavily on our students, on our faculty, on our staff. We rely very heavily on information sharing amongst the campus community, as well as with our external partners and in law enforcement, GPD, the Sheriff's Office, ATF, and all the like, the FBI. We have increased information sharing opportunities and capabilities. And so throughout the course of an academic year, we host a myriad of programs aimed at educating the campus community on how to stay safe, all right? That program is centered around awareness, judgment, and good use of the campus resources and infrastructure that we have in place, good use of that. And so we would call on you to ask and to encourage your students, your loved ones, anyone who frequents the campus to avail themselves of the many tools that we have in place, the Safe Zone app. We encourage them to sign up for the Aggie system so they can get alerts in time of need and those types of things. All of these investments have placed us on the cutting edge of safety within the campus community. So this is what the Chancellor has invested in. This is what we are doing to work together to ensure that the campus is safe.
Great. So we
Thank-
want to
thank-
give a moment here for everyone who has not taken down this address, ncat.edu/Aggie Alert. This is where you go to sign up for Aggie Alert. This is free. It's for students, employees, parents, family, community members, alumni, anyone who wants to stay abreast of ongoing threats to individual and campus safety on the A&T campus. So please make a note of that. Chancellor, did you have more?
I was going to thank Chief for sure, and I was going to make reference to those in our alumni who are listening today. We encourage you to sign up for Aggie Alert. It allows you to have access to situations where when an event comes to the campus in an unfortunate way, we do send out alerts. We send them out again when there is imminent danger to anyone on the campus. That includes our students, faculty, staff as well. And when that event has been removed, we then send another announcement to the campus that the campus is, again, safety, imminent danger has been removed. We send those only when there is imminent danger. When there's a moment when something has occurred and we need to communicate to our campus around safety matters, we do those without exception. But we always say to the campus, and we've said at the forum yesterday, about 3,000 parents, students, faculty, staff, and community participated in that forum on campus safety for our university as well. And I'll say to you, as I said to those participants as well, you see something, say something, so that we are continually improving the investments, the strategies that we maintain for keeping our campus safe. With the partnerships we created with the area law enforcement groups have allowed our agency members to move out further away from the campus so that we continue to push crime away from our institution. Patrolling areas and neighborhoods in close proximity to our campus. That means, though, the only way you can identify potential threats to the campus by those moving around from the external community is to have eyes in the community as around the periphery of the university. We have significant security personnel and patrollers on foot patrol, vehicle patrol in and around the campus. We have cameras invested all over the campus, and we use technology that captures the license plate, as Chief has suggested, of any vehicles that come in and out of our campus environment as well. These are the latest technological tools that are available to keeping any community safe, including our university community as well. So we want to ensure that you recognize the significant investments that made. These past events have been unfortunate events and unusual events for our university, but let's not confuse them by any measure. We have managed through those events to ensure that, again, we have protected the integrity of our campus security on the campus. Unfortunately, when our employees, our students leave the campus, protective campus environment, it is much more difficult for us, as in any community, in your communities, when you leave your community. It's more difficult because of the increasing levels of crime and perpetrators out in our communities as well. Now, the most effective way for us to ensure that we're protecting our community of students and faculty and staff is to keep them well educated about how to remain safe. Travel in pairs, know where you're heading, know your belongings, and also maintain access to tools that allow you to get emergency care if you need to gain access to emergency care as well. And we have increased our partnerships in very intense ways around the periphery of our campus as well. Those are helping, but again, when we are educating our employees and educating our students, we need to ensure that we continue to say these things to them on a regular basis as well. We'll answer more questions in the Q&A, which I look forward to doing so. I do want to spend some time talking about housing because this continues to be a hot button of conversation with our campus community as well. Next slide. Let's move on through these and move on to the housing piece in particular. So those of you who are very familiar with the housing, traditional housing on our campus, these represent on this slide the key residence halls, traditional halls as we call them. And through that array of standard housing on the campus, we have a little less than 4,000 beds. Now, some of these facilities, we have plans to demolish and replace them with more modern facilities, but we'll continue to maintain and delay those conversations. And Mr. Pompey will make some reference to the timelines for shifting and enhancing some of these traditional beds. Now, these beds, about 4,000, remain at about 98 to 99% occupancy year over year. Our inventory in 2017 covered approximately 39% of our undergraduate student population at that time, which was 10,248 students. Nationally, universities provide about 40% of their undergraduate student population with housing. That's the national trend. We made some decisions, next slide, that we needed to begin to enhance the availability of housing for our students as we expected our student population to continue to grow. And we wanted to move the percentage of housing availability for our undergraduate students to a more competitive level. The challenge for us was that if we began to build residence halls at a time when the many speculators, developers came into East Greensboro and built a number of student housing apartments around the university. These university apartments, they were not owned by the institution. They were owned by multiple groups of individuals. The concern was that many of them were undersubscribed. They were built with different levels of quality, limited technology, and limited safety oversight for those units. Our concern is if we had begun to build beds on our campus and did not address those apartments in and around the periphery of our university, that the developers of them would begin to, they would have less occupancy because more of the students would begin to live on campus. Those apartments would then begin to be made available to lots of folk whom we would not have any relationship with whatsoever, bringing closer to our campus the possibility of individuals bringing crime closer to our campus. And those apartments, without any level of maintenance on them, will begin to deteriorate and create an eyesore around the periphery of our university. Instead, we realized that a number of our students want to live in close proximity to the university, but they want to live in apartment style housing. So we created in 2015, out of our then A&T Foundation, a new foundation called the Real Estate Foundation. The goal of the Real Estate Foundation was to focus on real estate matters, purchasing land on behalf of the university and acquiring properties in general to help us ensure that we're preparing to expand the institution as the university continues to grow. And that Real Estate Foundation had much more flexibility to be able to go out and make acquisitions and offer competitive, make competitive offers on properties and more flexibly than we would using state resources. So the Real Estate Foundation was an excellent asset for the institution. Next slide. The Real Estate Foundation immediately began at our request to purchase all of the student housing apartments around the periphery of our university. They purchased a permanent point, 801 beds, not right close proximity to the university. Next slide. They purchased Aggie Point, 216 beds, 3-bedroom apartments, very nice facilities overall. Next slide. They purchased Campus Edge in 2018, 108 beds for the institution. Next slide. And you can see the pattern. They continue to purchase. Next slide. In addition to Sebastian Village, they purchased almost all of the apartments down Bimbo Street, close proximity to the university. Next slide. Next slide. Next slide. So after all of those acquisitions and an investment of approximately $182 million on behalf of the university, the Real Estate Foundation, next slide, purchased all of these apartments. So when you add that additional 2,036 beds at a cost of $182 million, none of those funds were added to fees to increase the cost of our students to attend the institution. If we had built apartments on the campus or around the periphery of the campus, we would have to issue debt and pay for those. And those costs would have had to been passed on to our students. So we were able to make these investments to the Real Estate Foundation in a very significant way, adding an additional 2,036 beds in a short time, about 4 years. Next slide. So when you look at the total number of beds that the university offers, in 2017, as you can see, we had 39% of our undergraduate students had housing. In 2021, 53% of our undergraduate students have access to housing. This is amongst the highest level of housing provided to undergraduate students in the UNC system, where the national average is at 40%. Next slide. And when you look across the UNC system, so you are suggesting we have a housing problem. We don't see this as a housing problem. We see an investment we have made in very substantial ways to accommodate students in housing on our campus. There's not a university in the system that comes close to the level of housing provisions we've made and have made the same level of and sizable investment that we've made to accommodate housing for our students. Next slide. Now, so the number of beds have increased by 2,000 or 34% since 2017. Our enrollment has only increased by 10% in that window of time. We far exceed the national average for what universities do. When you on our campus as undergraduate students, the same scenario existed. There's an unrealistic expectation by simply continuing to say we're not providing sufficient housing to meet the needs of our students. And we've made significant investment to accommodate the continued housing for our campus. Now, having said that, while we have built out these additional accommodations for housing for our students, we've also created a high expectation from our students because of now that the investments have been made to raise the quality of these housing units off the campus, apartment style housing. Students are able to pay for this housing through their financial aid, and they have access to amenities, shuttle services to and from. We've raised the expectations that more students now want more of our housing. That doesn't suggest we have a shortage of housing. That means that more students, because of the conveniences we've provided, now want more university housing. We understand that. As a consequence, in my conversations with our board and my conversations with our leadership team, and in particular, in my conversations with Robert Pompey, our chief business officer, I've challenged him to bring forward some plans to accommodate additional housing for our university. Next slide. To be able to do so, let me move on to the next slide. So now, to be able to do so, we made a decision that we need to now go through the bureaucracy of the process from our board to the president of the university system, to the board of governors and the legislature to give us authority now to build additional beds on our campus. We have now gained that authority to build an additional 430 suite style beds for our university. These beds will be built right across from Harrison Auditorium in that residential area, of which now we own about 70% of those properties. So Real Estate Foundation has assisted us in buying up those properties that gives us the opportunity now to begin to use that property, that land, to begin to expand the campus. This 450 beds will cost us $58 million. We've committed that. All of the processes have been approved for us now to begin the construction of this new residential 430 bed suite style apartments. And in the lower level of it, we've added retail as well to bring some of the amenities into East Greensboro that currently are not available to citizens in East Greensboro or to students who live on our campus. That investment has been now approved, and we expect to break ground for this new residence hall sometime this summer, with construction taking 12 to 18 months, with the anticipation that this facility will be completed in March 2024. So we hear our students wanting more and more opportunities to live in university housing, as opposed to the traditional theme of students when they move to their junior and senior year tend to want to move off campus, because we've made provisions for that, those students to live off campus in close proximity to the institution. In the university housing, there's a bigger demand of students wanting to do so because we made it more convenient. So I want you to understand that we hear from you as parents and from our students, we are making strategic investments. No other university is making these kinds of investments. And we are ensuring that we're being proficient in accommodating the anticipated growth for our university. Next slide. So again, we are making those investments. We are also having to make sure that we are managing the growing demands for significant investments on our campus. These new residence halls will not come from state appropriations. The university will have to derive a funding strategy to accommodate the continued growth for new residence halls by issuing bonds and defining revenues that will allow us to retire that debt. In some instances, that may have to be stood up as debt service, potentially, that gets passed on to our students for additional cost to attend our institution. With all of the investments we are trying to make to our university, which you'll hear about in a few moments from Mr. Pompey as part of our master plan, housing is of critical importance, but so is parking. So are additional amenities for recreation and accommodations for accommodating the growing needs of our students, in addition to housing as well. So when you see the totality of the investments we're making to our university, you'll recognize that housing certainly, yes, is one of those, but we also have to ensure that we're continuing to make investments in strategic areas of the campus as well, to ensure that we continue to maintain the competitiveness of our university as our peers are continuing to make investments on their campuses as well. So I'm going to stop there so to ensure that other presenters have time to make their presentations, and we'll have sufficient time for Q&A as well. So thanks very much. We'll talk more about the housing conversation if you have additional questions, but keep in mind that we are indeed making provisions to meet the growing needs and demands and interests for our students and those of our families. We'll talk more.
Chancellor, thank you. And thank you to Chief Cherry as well for all the great information that both of you shared. We're moving pretty well through our agenda so far, so let's keep things going. Our next presentation has to do with the journey to R1. Many of you may have been seeing news coming out of the university that A&T is now pursuing reclassification as an R1, very high research activity campus. Here to tell you more about that and break it all down is our Provost and Executive Vice Chancellor for Academic Affairs, Dr. Tanya Smith-Jackson. Provost.
Thank you, Todd. Do you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for attending the Alumni Town Hall. Thank you, Chancellor, for providing the information on housing, and also to you and Chief Cherry for updating us on safety. I want to certainly reassure everyone that safety is number one for North Carolina A&T. I'm going to talk tonight a bit about the strategic plan and then move into our journey to R1. So many of you may have noticed that all of last year, because many of you participated, we were working on our 2030 strategic plan, getting inputs from our stakeholders, both internal and external. We had many students involved in the process as well. Just like Todd Simmons said, we released the strategic plan on Founders Day, March 9th. And just wanted to let you know the work is not finished, however. So we do have the strategic plan that has been released. You can go to our website and find the strategic plan, but our next steps are underway as well. And that is to create action plans that will align with the strategic plan. So to keep this document from becoming dust, a dusty document on the shelf or somebody's coaster for their coffee cup, we're making sure that we continue to elevate this document by setting up the actions that we're going to do to achieve the 5 goals. So you will see here that we have established several implementation teams. And the job of the implementation teams is to make sure that we dedicate or put in writing our commitment to taking various actions as they relate to our units, various actions that will then, of course, help us to achieve our goals. Next slide. Just providing you here with the 5 goals. The strategic plan for 2030 has 5 goals, and also under each goal are several strategies to help to achieve those goals. What we have done with the goals is to make sure we position ourselves to be competitive, to be future forward by the year 2030. So I'm just going to highlight the goals fairly quickly here. Goal 1 is all about being smart about our partnerships. If we're going to do transformative engagement to advance the human condition, solve problems, we have to certainly make sure the partnerships are creative and impactful. Goal 2 is about being thought leaders. We're not just going to be people sitting quietly at the table being passive. We're generating the knowledge that people need in order to innovate, in order to create great things, in order to transform, in order to advance the human condition and impact economic growth. So thought leadership is what goal 2 is all about. And goal 3 is about making sure that as we walk into any space, we are excellent. We're advancing excellence through many of the different activities and business improvements or business process improvements we're doing, training and what we offer to just even to our employees, not just our students, but we're making sure that we can embrace performance excellence so that we walk into a room, people know that we're excellent, we're number 1. Goal 4 is making sure that we understand that we've got a great, wonderful, diverse campus. People bring various diversities of thought. They come from different geographic areas. They have different gender identities, different cultures, different religions. All of this stuff matters. We're making sure that we are preparing people to operate in a world that is diverse. And then also making sure that we create a climate here that where we indicate that we value all of those differences, we embrace those differences, and we're going to empower everyone to bring their best selves into the Aggie spaces. And then finally, goal 5 is about making sure we don't end up being an esoteric ivory tower, just doing things that people, don't value. It doesn't mean anything to their daily lives. So in goal 5, we're saying we are going to generate knowledge and do great scholarship. We're going to make sure that we have an impact that is meaningful to people. So whatever we do, wherever we put our energies and what actions we take and resources we direct are going to make sure that we're going to make sure they're responsive to our communities. We are addressing problems that matter to people, and we're transforming the world in a way that matters to everyone. Next slide. So on this next slide, I'm just going to just say really quickly, these action plans that are going to be written will be written by about 21 implementation teams comprising about 118 members across campus. The people who are leading this effort are those on the left. These are all of your cabinet members, and the numbers in parentheses are the number of divisional implementation teams that they will be leading. We will complete this whole process by July, and our action plans will be available in July so that we can then execute and start monitoring our progress towards 2030. Next slide. So now I'll get to this journey to R1. And many of you, I know a lot of alumni chapters have been certainly having dialogue about R1, what it means for North Carolina A&T. I'm going to now just talk about what it really means and why it's so important. This journey is so important to us. So the journey to R1 really is about research expansion, but research expansion really does have implications for economic growth. It positions us as a strong influencer, and then that, of course, allows us to have a significant impact. Next slide. So what does it mean then in terms of our mission? We're not really changing our mission. We have a new mission statement. You may recall from last summer that we had a stakeholder process back in last winter, March and April, and we gathered a lot of inputs from our stakeholders. We asked the question, who are we, or who should we be, and what should we be doing? And through that process, we ultimately developed this particular mission statement. And this mission statement is also, approved by the cabinet, approved by the Board of Trustees, and ultimately by the North Carolina Board of Governors, UNC System Board of Governors. But the point here is that this research expansion that we're talking about for R1 directly aligns with our mission. And I'm showing you the mission statement just to remind you, but also if you notice in the mission statement, we certainly call out who we are. We're an 1890 land grant institution. We've been doctoral granting for a couple of decades, but we're also already classified as a Research 2 institution. Research 2, the word that is mapped to Research 2 is high research activity. It means we do a lot of research and development that already has implications for advancing economies, of course, helping us to innovate, serving the state of North Carolina. So we're already a Research 2. Getting to Research 1 then is simply about getting better. And at A&T, we embrace excellence, which means we're always going to get better. We're going to be better tomorrow than we were today, and certainly better today than we were yesterday. The other aspects of the mission statement, though, also align with research expansion. Research expansion helps to advance the quality of life, improve the quality of life, and we say advance the human condition, and also facilitate economic growth. And then the bottom line is when you do research and development, R&D, which leads to that high ranking of R1, what you're doing is applying your knowledge to make a difference in the world. And it becomes very clear that when we get to that point, more and more people will recognize our impacts because we'll have much more influence to make that difference. Next slide. But the other thing about R1 is it's a deeper why for North Carolina A&T that comes out of our roots as we were established in 1891. The point here is we were established to, make sure that we were providing education in the agricultural and mechanical arts for the Negro people, right? The Negro race, as they say. So in the initial establishment, we had an obligation to our communities to serve those who were underserved, to do work and research and also educate ourselves so that we could make a difference in our communities. Well, that mission continues, or that, that commitment continues even into 2023 and on into 2030. We have an obligation to address equity gaps, whether it's in wealth or in education or in medicine. We have an obligation to make sure that technologies are not further disadvantaging those who are already disadvantaged and privileging those who are already privileged. So the bottom line here is that getting to this R1 is really, again, doing the things we're supposed to be doing anyway as an 1890 land grant institution. We're going to be better positioned to meet the needs of the underserved. Next slide. So people often ask the question, how do you get there, right? What are we supposed to be doing to get there? Well, we definitely, the American Council on Education handles all of this, who gets classified as R1, R2, et cetera. And I've already mentioned we're an R2 university, high research activity. But the Carnegie Foundation has an equation, a methodology that they use in order to classify institutions. And every few years, they'll put all doctoral granting institutions into a bin and run the formula to see what, who rises to R1, who rises to R2. And so in our case, we're trying to get to the very high research R1 classification. In the Carnegie equation, it sometimes looks complicated when you look at it on their website, but it really boils down to 4 things. The Carnegie Foundation realized somewhere in the 70s that indeed, when you are near an R&D spender, okay, a university that's spending money on research and development, it tends to do great things for the local economy, for the regional economy, for the state, and ultimately for the nation. So when you look at places like Research Triangle Park, they have 3 concentrated, they have 3 institutions that are all R1s that have been R1s for a very long time: UNC Chapel Hill, Duke University, and NC State. Because of that R&D spending that they're putting back into the economy, it has helped the RTP area to grow, but it's also attracted people to the RTP area. So the more that's spent, the faster you grow, and the more people want to come to that area. So R&D expenditures is one thing that is critical in that formula. But to spend money, you have to have money. So what we have focused on is making sure that we're improving the number of awards that we gain from grants and contracts. And that just this past year, we brought in $97 million in grants and contracts. Out of all the UNC institutions, we are 3rd. We're right behind UNC Chapel Hill and NC State in terms of how many research awards we bring in. So that's one factor. But of course, we have to spend that money as well. And so we spend it on people. We hire people to help do the research. We buy equipment. We set up labs. We build even buildings to do research. And so the point here is that we have increased our research expenditures by 25% since 2018. So research expenditures, what you spend on R&D is one thing, but it also matters about who's doing the research. So doctoral degrees, or students who are getting doctoral degrees, are the ones who do a lot of this work. They do a lot of this research work, but somebody has to pay them to do that work, right? So one thing that Carnegie looks at is how many of these hardworking doctoral students are you graduating each year? And so what we have done and what we've invested in is making sure that we have our STEM doctoral students, more of them are graduating in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, but other areas matter too. Health and human sciences, the social sciences as well. So, and arts, humanities, and social sciences, or arts and humanities. So we're looking at creating new doctoral programs, bringing in more doctoral students who can do more research, which then feeds into the economy. It's great for the state and it's great for the nation. At present, we have 5 graduate programs under review by the UNC system. Out of those 5, 4 are doctoral programs. Another thing that we've been doing is making sure that we can provide graduate assistantships, and we need your help, particularly in this area. Graduate assistantships are so important. Graduate students need to have an income. They need to be paid for their work so that they can focus on the great R&D that would be happening on campus and ultimately impacting the economy and advancing the human condition. So what we need to make sure we do is build a climate where our grad students are working here and not, I have nothing against McDonald's, but McDonald's is not quite tied to what many of them are going to be doing. So we want their brains, we want their energy, we want their innovation right here on campus or in our labs, whether it's on the main campus or Gateway South or Kannapolis or Gateway North. We just want them to be focused on the work, and that takes money to provide them with assistantships. The next thing is, it also matters about your other folks who are doing research on your campus. So our tenure track faculty participation in research and development, very important. We've made sure our continuing faculty are poised for the future, being developed, provided with workshops and additional support to make sure that they can keep bringing in research awards and generating great research. But also we are recruiting faculty who may already come in with an R1 mindset because they have come from R1 institutions. We call that the Faculty of the Future initiative. And then other aspects of participation, we have to make sure our faculty who are working hard on the research enterprise have the right research infrastructure. And that's all the investments in laboratories, equipment, et cetera. And then finally, Carnegie cares about who else besides your faculty and your doctoral students are contributing to this R&D. Because again, those are other folks who are helping to build the economies and advance the human condition in our case. So research staff matter too. And those are individuals like postdoctoral students, graduate assistants, of course. They're research faculty fully dedicated to 100%. They don't teach, they don't do community engagement necessarily. They focus just on the research aspects. So these 4 things, key areas, Chancellor and our leadership, our university have been making sure that we are investing in so that we can ultimately get to that R1 position. Next slide. Thank you. And in closing, I do want to say that the master plan also regarding infrastructure has a lot to do with that journey as well. So we're looking forward to hearing from Robert Pompey.
Thank you very much, Provost. And with all that Chancellor Martin shared a few minutes ago and that the Provost shared just now, you might be asking, where are we going to put all these people? Where are we going to hold all of these classes? Well, we've got a lot of answers coming your way now from our Vice Chancellor for Business and Finance, Robert Pompey. Mr. Pompey?
Thank you, Todd, and good evening to my fellow Aggies. First of all, I do want to thank you so much for providing us with your time and your talent and your treasure. You could be anywhere tonight and the day before a holiday, and you've chosen to be with us and to learn what's going on within our university. And for that, I'm just so appreciative. Would also be remiss if I did not thank our fellow Aggie and our Chancellor for his great leadership during his time here at the university. He has been transformative for us, extremely visionary, and has set such a high standard. So we definitely thank him. And you're going to see a lot about him and what his vision is for our university as I go through this presentation. I came to North Carolina A&T as a student in 1983 from the best city in North Carolina, Kinston. And a special shout out to some of my Kinstonians that I know that are on this chat. I think I see a Joanna Murphy and an award at a minimum. A special hello to all of you. But I would have never imagined that some years later, that I would have been here at A&T as a professional for 15 years. It's definitely been a high point for me. A companion to our strategic plan is our campus master plan. And the master plan is really saying what Todd is saying, what are we going to build, where we're going to put things, what are we going to renovate? And so what I'm here to talk to you very briefly is about our master plan. There are 2 components. Talking to you about our campus master plan today. We also have an athletics master plan that we would love to share more about with you in the future. We'll be hitting on some of those highlights as we go forward. Next slide, please. So just to kind of give you an orientation of our campus, and Crystal, I don't know if you have the opportunity to kind of follow with your cursor, but if you are at the bottom part of our campus here, the bottom left, you can see, if you can go back one more, Crystal, if you don't mind. Or 2 more. There you go. Thank you. The bottom left of our campus, you see Market Street. And if you're at the left, you're actually coming from downtown. And at the corner of Market and Dudley is our new engineering building. And so as you're going down Market Street, you're going to come, you're passing the library that we all know about. Some of us old Aggies, this is not our library. Our library is more on the inner part of campus. And then you're going to come to Bimbo Road, the corner of Market Street and Bimbo Road. And on that corner is Webb Hall, where we have a lot of our agricultural activities and admissions and all those things. And then as you're going down Bimbo Road, if you're looking to your left, you're seeing Clock Tower, you're seeing some of our newer classroom buildings. And for us old Aggies, the what was between Dowdy Building and Scott Hall was a lot of individual houses. So how times have changed. And then as you keep going down Bimbo Road, you can see the Aggie Village on the left. You can see Corbett Sports Center, and then you see something called John Mitchell Drive. And John Mitchell Drive, if you look to the right, is of that is our big new student center. To the left of that is the new and improved Scott Hall. We call that Aggie Village. And if you kind of go back down John Mitchell, going down the same way that you came in, you're going to go and you're going to see our stadium. You're going to go and you're going to see Lindsay Street up top. And then if you follow Lindsay Street all the way down, if you look to Lindsay to Dudley Street, Crystal, you do an excellent job. And so if you look right to your left, if you recall, there are a whole lot of individual houses there. And you remember Salem Street, there was a store that some of us used to go to that was on Salem Street that is no more, but a lot of those individual houses are there. And then when you go back down Dudley, that's really the perimeter of our campus and what we're looking to do. And to kind of go back to where a lot of those individual houses are, that's where we see the growth of our campus as we go to the future. So I just wanted to kind of give you that to give you an orientation. Thank you so much, Crystal. Next slide. So if you're looking at John Mitchell Drive and you can see the big arrows going back and forth, we really want to do some really great things with John Mitchell Drive. And we really want to call it our Avenue of Champions. So when we are beating North Carolina Central in football every year for the next 25 years, Earl Hilton, we're going to go and we're going to celebrate on this Avenue of Champions, where we're going to just celebrate our big wins. And if you recall, if you're going from right to the left on John Mitchell Drive, if you crossing over the street, if you recall, there's a big old parking lot that used to be across from Cooper and Scott and Ward and Carver Hall. And if you recall, there's also a ravine there. And so what we're looking to do is we're looking to really build a footbridge and a pathway that will take you from right to left to the new part of our campus where we expect to grow. Next slide, please. Next slide. So what we're really looking to do is a big project that we're going to do with this area is that we're looking to have a new wellness and recreation center. So for those of us that played intramural basketball or just played basketball, period, as an Aggie, we all played in Moore Gym. Unfortunately, we're still playing in Moore Gym. For those of us that played outside basketball, there are some black tops that were kind of right outside the Moore Gym area. Unfortunately, we're still playing on black tops outside of the Moore Gym area. One of the things the pandemic taught us is that we really need to have things for our students to do. So one of the big things that you're going to be hearing more about is that we're going to build a new wellness and campus and recreation center that you kind of see in that new area that we're planning to expand. Next slide. So we hope that it would look something like this. And for those of us that have been at A&T, no matter what period of time, can you imagine if we had something that looked like this? And this is what we're shooting to do. Next slide. And again, another look at this. Next slide. So what we've done is we're dividing our plan up into two phases. Phase one will be things that we are shooting to accomplish and to achieve in the 2023 to 2030 timeframe. And then phase two would take us up to 2038. What I often say is that if the last time you've come to North Carolina A&T was 1990, when you come on campus now, you would probably get lost. My goal now is the last time that you came on campus is 2023. When you come back in 2038, that you will be lost. So there are a number of things that we're looking to do, and what this is in a priority order, but we're actually going to be working on a number of these things concurrently. Our top priority is our Health and Human Sciences building. Our Health and Human Sciences College is, and it is called the Hairston College, it is named appropriately, is now our largest college. We've had extensive growth, but unfortunately, the students that are health and human sciences majors are in a number of buildings. So our number one priority is to have a new health and human sciences building. You can see the number is the numbers correspond to where they are on the map. So you can see that what we're thinking about doing is having this building placed right at the corner of right off of Dudley Street. Right now, if you think about where the old Chancellor's house is, that's, if you look right across, that's where we would look to have this building. Our second priority that you see is a new environmental College of Agriculture and Environmental Sciences research facility. And that's number two. So Carver Hall was an old building when I was in school here at North Carolina A&T in 1983. So, you know, X years later, it's really old. So what we would look to do is to demolish Carver Hall and bring up a new Carver Hall with all the latest innovation and technologies and things for our students to take advantage of. We talked about the wellness center that we're looking to build on number three. It's going to be in this expanded new area that we're acquiring. We've acquired about 70% of the houses. Of course, we need additional parking. One of the other things that we're going to be having is a student support building. Oftentimes our admissions, our financial aid, our registrar's office, our career services, we're in all different buildings in different areas, and we don't have enough space. A number of you recall all of us having to go to Corbett to register for classes. So we want to make sure that we're getting out of that. We have a very robust space for our students to go handle all the business in one area. We're transitioning. We're no longer going to say that we're Aggie shufflers. We're going to say that we're providing the Aggie experience to our students, and that's what we are poised to do. So you can see that. So just a few other things that I would bring to your attention as it relates to athletics. If you go to the football field area, what we're looking to do is we're going to add an addition to the football field on the end that's closest to Craig Hall. You can see that's a B there or 8 there, Crystal. I can't read, of course. And then you're going to see that we're going to expand our fitness center that's on the other side of the football field. And if you look to the right of the football field, you're going to see that we're going to have some practice fields there that we're going to add. Again, we're going to be national champions in football. So we're going to practice like champions, and we're going to play like champions, and we're going to provide facilities. So just a number of exciting things to do. If you go to our baseball stadium, right where you are, Crystal, we're looking to move our softball field to the baseball stadium that we now own. We're going to renovate the baseball stadium, relocate the softball field there, add some support facilities there, and we're looking to do some great things in that area. And then if you just go directly below that, you're going to see some fields and things of this nature in the green, number 9 and 13. We intend to have a soccer field for intramural activities, and also a soccer field because it is our intention to have a new soccer team one day. And it's, again, our intention to win national championships in every sport. Next slide, Crystal. So from a renovation standpoint, one of some things I'd like to point out to you is that we are going to renovate our College of Science and Technology building. We're going to renovate Martina Hall. We're going to be doing some work to Hines Hall. We've just completed an assessment of our marching band, and our goal is to have a marching band that matches their performance and have facilities that are best in class. So our plan is to perform an extensive renovation of a building we just purchased. We're so excited about where this will end up in this facility for our band. In addition, we're going to be providing scholarship support for our band at very competitive levels, practice fields, a number of things that we're looking forward to as it relates to our marching band. So these are plans from a renovation standpoint. Next slide. So as we go forward into the next period of time and in our phase 2, again, we're going to do some really exciting things. And one of the things a couple of things I really want to point out to you, if you look at the top right of you see a number 19. And we're looking to have a convocation center. And this will be a place where we can not only have our athletic events from our basketball team to volleyball, et cetera, et cetera. Corbett has served us very well, but Corbett is limited as far as capacity, and Corbett is very limited in the comfort of the seats and things of this nature. So we're looking to not only have a first-class facility that will provide an opportunity for us to have our athletic events there, but also for us to have our larger events here for the university. We consistently have to go off campus to have our graduations. We consistently don't have room to do large scale events where we would have 8,000, 67 to 8,000 people. This convocation center will allow us to have these events, allow opportunity for our band to have their concerts and things at a very nice indoor facility. So we're extremely excited about that. Also, what we'd like to share with you is that the arts are extremely important to us. And our plan is to have a performing arts center. If you look at number 16 down there, it's right across from our baseball field. It's our goal to have a state-of-the-art performing arts center. We have tremendously talented students in the arts, and we're going to lift them up and to recognize the great work that they're doing in a tremendous facility. Again, as you can see, this is pushing us closer to downtown. So it's also our goal to bring downtown to North Carolina A&T, and more we're getting folks to cross the railroad tracks to come to us, and we're going to continue to have that happen. Next slide. So we're going to continue to renovate a number of our facilities, not only our academic buildings, but also our administrative buildings. You can see that a number of our older residence halls, we're going to be renovating those from Cooper to Morrison to Holland to Curtis. I will tell you though, as Dr. Pierce would say, that the Hollands and the Morrisons are war horses, and they are made extremely well. They are beautiful facilities. So our plan is to maintain their beauty and to renovate them. Some of our other residence halls, in particular Haley Hall, our overall goal is to demolish Haley Hall and to come up with a newer facility and a newer opportunity as far as that's concerned. Next slide. So we're excited about where our master plan is going to take us and what we're going to achieve as a university. I look forward to having greater conversation with any of you about our plans. This is going to require that we achieve a lot of success as it relates to our General Assembly. One of the things that we're happy to report is that the General Assembly appears to recognize, and the governor recognizes, the importance of North Carolina A&T having a quality health sciences building. So far, we're in the midst of budget deliberations, but it seems like we've received approval so far in the governor's budget, approval so far in the House budget. The Senate is convening now, and they're deliberating, and then both the House and the Senate come together and have a finalized budget that they send to the governor for approval. So our hope is that this health sciences building will continue to be recognized and lifted up as a priority. We're very excited about the prospect, and so far we've got some really good signs. So we do anticipate having that as an opportunity for us. But there are a lot of these buildings that will require, that will not be state funded, and that will require a tremendous amount of fundraising on behalf of our university, and it's going to require a definite partnership with you, our alums, to make this happen. We are in a tremendously competitive athletic conference, and as all of us know, what these kids today, they value facility, they value the look of the locker room, they value the weight room, all those things. So we are having to make, and will make, tremendous improvements, enhancements to all of our athletic facilities. We're going to make a tremendous investment in a wellness center, and all these things will not be assisted primarily from the state. It's going to be funding that we have to provide ourselves, and to do that is going to require a tremendous amount of fundraising. And for that, we would definitely rely and hope that you can provide us assistance in making this happen. Next slide. And next slide. So I thank you all for your time, and I thank you as my fellow Aggies, and just for all the things that you do. I remember In Todd's commercial, he said 96% of us alums. If we had to do it all over again, we would come back to North Carolina A&T, and that just speaks to how special that we are. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Pompey. Really exciting information there. And I want people to know, as you probably noticed, the activity is not limited to the A&T campus. In East Greensboro, we have new housing developments, Bailey Village, just across the street from the Martin Engineering Complex. And the Resurgent, another apartment complex, will be going up across the street, across Market Street at the entrance to the university. At Gateway Research Park, just a short drive away in East Greensboro, we have a fine new company, Impact Data, that is bringing data mining and analytics to Gateway South, along with some great high-tech jobs. So keep your eyes on Gateway. We'll have more great news coming out of there later this month. Next up will be our Vice Chancellor for University Advancement, Ken Sigmund, for a discussion of what's new in university advancement. Ken?
Great, thank you, Todd, and welcome again, Aggies. Great to see you here and be with you. As has been said before, we know you have choices, and we're glad to see that you've decided to spend part of your evening with us. So I won't get into too much detail because I want to make sure we have plenty of time for Q&A. But I just want to again thank all of our speakers tonight. Thank Crystal for her work in getting this organized. And I just want to close by saying thank you for all that you have done to make us the university that we are today. Not only the highest rated, but also the largest public HBCU in the country. And the great work that goes on this campus every day because of your investment in the university, to our students, our faculty, our programs, and our facilities and infrastructure. You are the integral part of not only bringing us to where we are today, but helping us secure this future that you've heard about through the new strategic plan, as well as the quest for R1. So as we begin to implement these plans, we certainly look forward to having greater conversations with you as we sit down with you and talk about the role that you can play in helping us achieve this next step in the trajectory of North Carolina A&T State University. So thank you for all that you have done for us through past giving, past involvement, past advocacy. But thank you equally importantly for all the things that I know you will do as we seek to move into this next phase of the university's history. So thank you again.
Thanks very much, Ken. And I will jump in here for the university brand survey results. Some of you may be aware, you may have been contacted yourself about a university brand perception survey that we recently fielded. We were very fortunate to be able to use a small portion of funding from the Mackenzie Scott gift a couple of years ago to fund this important work. And it's already bringing into much greater focus what our audiences are interested in and how we're most likely to engage them with messaging and subject matter that will really be of interest to them. With competition increasing for an even smaller number now of top high school graduates in this state, it's critical that we have detailed market information on our constituents to remain competitive. We did this survey in January along with our pollster, ADV Market Research and Consulting. And for most of the findings I'll share here today, respondents were unaware that this was an A&T survey project until very late in the conversations. Let's go to the next slide, please. We had a wonderful turnout, most significantly from our alumni, from all of the different audiences that we surveyed here. As you can see, the alumni represented nearly 1,900 of our more than 4,200 respondents. We achieved our goal of having at least 250 respondents in each of the categories here, which gives us the ability to assign some significant confidence in the findings of the responses and to be able to operationalize the findings in our work. I want to say 5 quick things here about some of the audiences that we're not going to talk about very much tonight. The first of those is prospective students who we separated into out-of-state and in-state students. This is the significant distinction and difference we're finding about the out-of-state and in-state students. First of all, 2/3 of our out-of-state students are interested only or mostly in attending an HBCU. And for those students, our top competition is Howard, Spelman, and at least among their parents, Harvard. You might ask why? Well, this is a very highly qualified group of students. They typically come in with a 4.0 GPA or higher. And so it probably shouldn't surprise us that those are the choices that they're looking at for college. For the in-state students, only 25% of them are interested only or mostly in HBCUs. And our top competition for those students is Chapel Hill and NC State. Everyone else lags significantly behind. So for the in-state students, we're squaring off against Chapel Hill and NC State. For the out-of-state, it's really Howard, to a lesser extent, Spelman and Harvard. For parents of prospective students, we also surveyed all of their parents, and of those, A&T was the first choice for both in and out-of-state parents. Third, North Carolina business leaders. We spoke to a strong group of nearly 270 North Carolina business leaders. They rank A&T among North Carolina's top 4 STEM universities, along with Duke, NC State, and Chapel Hill, and 3/4 of them describe themselves as somewhat or very likely to hire an A&T graduate. You'll note that's not, would you interview a graduate, but they are likely to hire an A&T graduate. We thought that was extraordinary. And lastly here, higher education leaders. A&T is ascendant with this group. A full 2/3 of higher education leaders who we surveyed out of 263 said their opinion of A&T is better today than it once was. Next slide, please. Okay, we're going to talk in this about what we classified as the internal audiences, which means current students, our employees, and alumni. Next slide. So this was to ask all of those in that internal audience, a full 2,735, what their perceptions are of North Carolina A&T, what they think we do well. And you can see them ranked all very closely together, by the way. So we didn't draw a great deal of distinction between this, but you can look at those top 5 results. Active student life with clubs, events, and traditions. We call that the GEHO answer. Overall academic reputation, sense of community, being a welcoming and inviting place, and the level of academic quality and rigor. We should all be, I think, heartened to know that everyone considers those the top strengths of North Carolina A&T. Let's move on to the next. So this is those same audiences just sort of compared to one another. You can see that there were the notation SIG on the right looks at significant differences between alumni and our faculty and staff and students. And it was significant for all of those except internship opportunities where they were very closely aligned. If we look at graduates getting good jobs in their fields, it's about 8 or 9 down in this list of attributes here. A university that can help students get good jobs in their fields, for all of our audiences, that was the top indicator of what makes a university great. And they believe that we're doing well at that. Let's move on to the next. So we asked our respondents here, what do you believe are the best ways for North Carolina A&T to demonstrate our academic quality? You see, once again, job placement rates for graduates right up at the top. Retention, student and alumni satisfaction, all the good research we do, they're kind of clumped into a second answer there, and the others tail off fairly sharply after that. Next slide. In what areas would you like to see A&T's reputation improve? For the 1,601 responses on this, they would like to see A&T's reputation improve through more engaged learning opportunities. That was a surprise. They would like to see it improve in preparing students for high demand careers and in professional preparation. Again, underscoring the value that parents, prospective students, alumni, employers, that all of them attach to being able to get a good job coming out of the university. Next slide. This is maybe a little bit wonky, but it's the net promoter score for these 3 audiences. These are all 3 very good net promoter scores. Students tend to be the most critical audience of any university. It's been their only experience, and when they're troubled about something, they tend to be a little bit more critical of the university than other people do. Plus 15.3, our pollster assured us is a very strong response for students who are typically lower than that. For faculty and staff, it was even better at 30.9, but look at alumni here. And this is characteristic of alumni responses throughout the survey. A net promoter score of 82.4%. That's just extraordinary and leads all of us looking at the survey data to believe that alumni can play an even stronger role in the university's enrollment marketing and admissions support. Next survey, next slide. So we asked students this time, if you had to do it all over again, would you still choose to attend A&T? Well, you might recall in the previous slide, they were a little bit critical in some areas, but nevertheless, 82% of them said, yeah, they would choose A&T all over again. And that number only gets higher as they become alumni. Next slide. We asked faculty and staff, this time our employees, how likely are you to recommend A&T as a place to work? A net promoter score of 30.9. They were very likely to recommend A&T to someone looking for college. As a place to work, though, we have some work to do to improve on those scores and some deeper information there on why they were a little bit sour in their responses here. Next slide. Alumni preparation for career. This is, to me, the most rewarding part of this survey. We asked our alumni, and there were 1,075 who responded to this question. How well did North Carolina A&T prepare you for your career? And as you can see here, a full 96% said that their decision to, said that A&T prepared them somewhat well or very well for their careers. Very strong number. As Mr. Pompey pointed out a moment ago, we had a similar finding in the commercial that you saw earlier. That was really drawn from a Gallup survey several years ago, in which our alumni said they would come back to A&T and earn their degree all over again, a full 96%, if they had the chance. Those findings were the best of any campus in the UNC system. We were glad to see them reinforced here in this question. Next slide. Rating the decision to attend A&T. We asked alumni this time, how would you rate your decision to attend North Carolina A&T? Wow, look at this, an incredible 98% said their decision to attend A&T was good or great, with a supermajority, 86%, describing it as great. These are unprecedented numbers. Our pollster tells us they have never seen stronger numbers in alumni affinity with any university that they've worked with, and this includes hundreds of universities across higher education. Next slide. And lastly, change in opinion over time. We found that a great many respondents in all of the different categories have a higher opinion of A&T today than they once did. But look at this. How many of our alumni have a higher opinion of A&T since they graduated? 7 out of 10 have a higher opinion of A&T today. Only 5% had a lower opinion. Again, these are numbers that polling organizations don't see with other higher education institutions. We've got deeper findings in here on specifically what they think has improved around the university, and it lines up with the things that we're focusing on here at A&T. Next slide. I believe this is okay. Why has their opinion improved? Growth and expansions and programs and enrollment and general improvement over time, and A&T prepared them for success. Alumni are in a very positive place. I hope you all recognize with the relationship to A&T. Next slide. So that's the end of what we'll share on the brand survey. I can tell you the full report on this is 220 pages long. There's a lot of detail in there, but as I said, it's already very useful for us in focusing conversation with different constituent groups, particularly among prospective students and their parents, and really knowing how we sharpen that brand promise for them about what they will get by coming here to North Carolina A&T. Happy to answer questions on that as we move into Q&A in just a few moments. Before we do that, I wanted to recognize that we have Kim Gatling on the Zoom with us tonight, who is our chair of the Advisory Council on Alumni Relations and a BOT member. Ms. Gatling, We so appreciate you being here and taking part in this tonight. Well, with all of that, we've gone through all of our topical areas. Let's move on now to Q&A. And if you'll give me just a moment to change screens here, then we'll begin to ask some of these questions, and I'll ask all of our panelists on the call to be ready for this. Let's move back first to campus safety. There are a number of questioners who wondered about the decision not to send out an Aggie alert for this particular instance where there was someone arrested on our campus in possession of weapons. I'll reinforce what Chancellor Martin said in the presentation here. This gentleman was taken into custody immediately, arrested, and his weapons confiscated. So there was no ongoing threat to the university community. That was why an Aggie alert was not sent out. I think you can count in the future, though, on us sending out additional information following an incident like that, not on our emergency alert channels, but just as more of regular campus emails to say, please be advised, something happened on campus that you need to be aware about so that you can take appropriate actions to keep yourself protected. Another questioner asks, is there a place on the A&T website where we can review the policies and procedures for what incidents on campus constitute sending an Aggie alert? This may bring us better awareness and understanding into why an alert was unfortunately not sent to students, faculty, and staff. Thanks in advance, the questioner says. I'm sorry that I don't have that page to refer you to immediately, but if you go to the Aggie Alert sign-up page, there is a brief explanation on top of that page that tells you how we use the Aggie Alert system and what it's for. Another question, someone says, if we sign up for Aggie Alerts, is there a guarantee that students, faculty, and staff will indeed receive alerts when incidents on campus happen, or updates on incidents that have been investigated and resolved? Once again, I'll refer to what we said just a moment ago. We'll send out alerts when there are threats to campus that are ongoing. You will notice in Aggie Alerts, they always have a specific action that is asked of the recipient. It's stay away from this area. It's please stay in your residence and don't go out onto campus. Direction like that characterizes the Aggie Alerts because we want them to take an action from the alert that we're sending them. The idea around emergency alerts is that if we send them out too frequently and on things that don't actually constitute emergencies, then they're unlikely to read them or respond to them when we have an emergency situation. All right, let's move over into one question that I will throw open to Chancellor Martin and to Vice Chancellor Pompey. This questioner asked, Chancellor, what is the plan, or will the university be open to putting gating on A&T's campus in the future and having a security checkpoint when we enter? Chancellor?
Great question. We currently have gating in all of our entrances. We made a decision, Ms. Pompey, I think approximately 12 years ago, thereabouts, to place gating at all of our main entrances to the institution at a certain time of the evening of university during normal operations of the institution during the fall and spring semesters. Those gates close with the exception of designated entry/exit points for the institution. Security is managed around those then open areas to manage traffic in and off the campus. So yes, gates do exist on all of our main entrances. When you're on campus next time, you will see them. They're blue gates, metal gates that are closed appropriately to provide security during normal operations of the institution throughout the night, but also to control traffic when we have special events for the institution, such as homecoming traffic or the major traffic of the institution as well. Robert, anything else you would add to that?
No, sir, Chancellor.
Thank you, Chancellor, and we'll ask Chief Cherry to rejoin us in the conversation here. This questioner asks, what new strategies and approaches does A&T plan to implement and demonstrate to show we're leading the way as it pertains to campus safety? Active shooter drill exercises, self-defense courses, et cetera. Chief Cherry, can you take that on and perhaps mention the apps that we provide to students to help them remain safe?
Yes, absolutely. So we are certainly on the cutting edge of the technology that we discussed earlier. You know, we talked a little bit about the drone technology that we have recently acquired and have deployed in the field that would give us the ability to surveil the campus, especially in times of need, in times of special situations, and those type of things. We also talked a little bit about our Safe Zone app, which is a free mobile app that students can download. And with this app, they can obtain the necessary services and assistance from the police department, from the counseling center, and others. We talked a little bit about our flock cameras, our license plate readers. This is a technology that we have acquired first within the UNC system, where we now have the ability to understand and know what vehicles frequent our campus on a daily basis. And so if we have a vehicle on this campus and they commit a crime or a violation, we have the ability to recall the license plate and thereby get the information on the vehicle owner and those types of things. And so, yes, we also go through training on an annual basis. It's called in-service training for our officers. So officers go through this training to make sure that they remain proficient in their ability to do their job. But that training is also rolled out to the campus community, because we understand that part of campus safety is the education of our campus so that they won't fall victim to petty crimes as they frequent and move about the campus. And so, yes, we train in the area of active shooter. We provide active shooter training to the campus on a needed basis and at the request of different groups throughout the campus. We provide self-defense classes free of charge to our students. It's called rape aggression defense. And so we provide that training as well to the campus community, to many of the clubs, organizations, housing, residence halls, all of which we just take our time to provide this information so that they know how to protect themselves in the event of an attack. And so, yes, we are definitely at the cutting edge of campus safety and in the forefront. In fact, many of our peers within the UNC system look to us and ask us about some of the things that we're doing. We also have a very robust social media presence as well, where we push out regularly safety initiatives, safety programming, and the like to the communities, because we understand that we have to go where our students are. And I'm telling you, they are in the social media space. And so that and a few other things that we're doing daily, it positions us to become more close with our community. One last thing we pride ourselves in is the relationship with our community. You know, we have clubs and organizations who we assist in sponsoring events. You know, we never turn away from a student when they say, hey, we want to partner with you. And so we jump at that opportunity because we understand that true campus safety takes true, authentic partnership and understanding and transparency. That's what we aim to accomplish here as a police department and as a university within the campus community.
Thanks very much, Chief Jerry. Provost, we'll come to you for a couple of questions here on admissions and enrollment at the university. The first of those, I'll give you a little frame to respond here, ask whether we can share stats about applications, acceptance, et cetera. I think everyone should just be delighted to know that in the current academic year, we are over 40,000 in applications to the university. It's just an extraordinary number. We have more than doubled, significantly more than doubled the number of applications coming into A&T. Of course, that makes competition very stiff. And Provost, can you share perhaps more about applications, acceptance, and that whole process?
I would probably believe I have those data, and Aaron,
Yes, please.
Ms. Hart, would be able to share those more so than the provost. I do have them in a slide or two. I won't take the time to go to them more formally at this moment. But as you suggested, we have a significant number of apps for admission this year over last year. I think our apps up about a little shy of 30% over last year. The concern for us, of course, is that the applications for out-of-state students has grown to be about 60% of our total apps today, if not a little more, than our in-state apps. 10 years ago, that was reversed. And so with the growing demand for out-of-state students for admission to the institution, that also bumps up against the out-of-state cap, which we've been able to negotiate increasing with the Board of Governors to 35% today from 18% just 8 years ago. That allows us, again, to accommodate more out-of-state students, many of whom are children or grandchildren of our alumni. And as we've looked at the data, about 13,000 students of that slightly less than 40,000 apps have been admitted today. We are at the out-of-state cap at this moment. We're making some adjustments. If a student is out-of-state and an engineering major intent, we can admit that student because engineering majors, computer science majors, engineering technology majors are not counted against the cap as well. The profile of the students on average, I believe the average GPA for the admitted class of 13,000 students is somewhere in the vicinity of 3.0.
3.7.
Ms. Hart is saying to me it's 4.0 for out-of-state students and 3.71 for in-state students. That's a very competitive profile and exceeds the profile of most of our UNC partners in our peer group. And so the challenge for us as well is making sure we balance against the out-of-state cap. As you recall, this past year, we exceeded the cap, and there's a penalty associated with exceeding the cap. We're aware of that. We balance the Board of Governors' continuing recognition of our institution's progress and growth and impact on the state of North Carolina and beyond by making provisions for us to have a larger out-of-state cap. But on the other hand, there is a desire for more in-state students to attend our university as well. And we have to ensure as a state-supported institution that we are making provisions as our state legislators and Board of Governors members are expecting us to do our part and also help to accommodate those North Carolina citizens and families who are paying taxes that support our universities as well. So we're excited about the enormous growth. We're excited, quite candid, about the out-of-state student interest as well, which continues to blend the diversity geographically of our students who are attending our university in significant numbers.
Thank you, Chancellor. Provost, would you like to add anything?
No, I think the Chancellor has covered everything, but certainly we can see from whether it's primarily out of state, we have a whole lot of people who are trying to get into North Carolina A&T. But as Chancellor said, we also have first and foremost an obligation to our citizens of North Carolina because they have paid the taxes that have helped to build and sustain the public institutions in the state of North Carolina, including North Carolina A&T. So we certainly want to make sure we're encouraging more applications from our in-state students, and we need our alumni to help us with that encouragement. May 1st is decision day, so we look forward to hearing what our students are going to say, those who are accepted, whether they're going to come. Many will.
Thank you, Provost. I would also add that about half the United States does not have an HBCU within the state borders of those states. For students who are coming from there, who are interested in attending an HBCU, we're at the top of their list. They have to be extraordinarily competitive. As you heard Chancellor say a moment ago, the average admitted GPA is 4.0 right now for out-of-state students. They are not allowed to displace a qualified in-state student who would meet this year's admissions standards. Provost, let's stay with you for one more here. This questioner asked, does A&T's Office of Admissions still find value in legacy Aggies? I have a high school student whose mother and father are both A&T alumni, but the reality of her being accepted when she applies continues to feel bleak.
Oh, well, we find value in all of our Aggies. Certainly, we know that we have legacy Aggies as well, but we are looking at admissions. Admissions for A&T is very competitive. And we are looking at, for example, like you said, out-of-state applications where the GPAs are 4.0 and ACTs and SATs are quite high as well. So we have to make decisions that are definitely going to bring in the most competitive, the strongest and most well-prepared students to North Carolina A&T. So all applicants matter. We know that our legacies bring great value to the institution because of their history and tradition, and they want to carry it on. But we look at also the whole student as well, as we're looking at that whole package for who will be admitted into North Carolina A&T.
Thank you, Provost. And we'll stick with you for one more academic question. This time, I think a great many of our alumni are noticing that the university is about to launch a physician assistant program, and we're planning for a Doctor of Nursing Practice, so a DNP program as well. So this alum asks, that knowing that the Harrison College is already A&T's largest college, are there plans to open a med school or a law school in the near future?
Well, certainly, let us get the doctorate in nursing practice and physician assistant programs. And like I said, we have 5 programs that are under review right now, and 4 of those 5 are doctoral programs. So there's a lot going on right now. Medical schools can be quite expensive, and it is hard to start a medical school if you've been in another kind of league like we have, which is mostly science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. So as we stand today, there's no plan to start a medical school. However, there is a plan to build significant strength in health and human sciences, including our doctorate in nursing practice. Chancellor, you want to add something to that?
Well, I love the question about medicine and law. I don't anticipate there would be any additional law schools, public law schools added to the UNC system. There is a desire to have a law school and a medical school in Charlotte because they view themselves as being the only large urban community without a law school or a medical school. A private law school was started in Charlotte about 10 years ago. It grew rapidly, but it failed miserably because of the poor performance. I don't anticipate another law school anytime in the foreseeable future. Wake Forest, now Truist Hospital, which was formerly Baptist, has now expanded a private medical school into the Charlotte community under the umbrella of Wake Forest University. Given the medical school at UNC Chapel Hill and at East Carolina now, with the 2 private medical schools at Duke University and Wake Forest, and now expanding into Charlotte. With the huge cost to create a medical school, I cannot imagine that the UNC system is expected to fund an additional medical school in the state of North Carolina as well. And so while we have had some general discussions about professional schools, the medical school and law school options have not been ones that have been at the top of the list for us, as we've had even exploratory discussions with the UNC system.
Thank you, Chancellor.
Great aspirations, though.
That's right. We love the aspirations. Let's move on to our Chief Human Resources Officer, Veronica Sills. Veronica, this questioner asked, what is the university doing to enhance employee engagement and benefits to increase our standing as a best place to work and to be an employer of choice in this area?
Thank you very much for that question, and a very important one as well. I will tell you in short that we are really focusing on strengthening our core fundamentals and aligning that with the strategic plan. So we have narrowed down our focus on improving our recruitment and onboarding experiences. That means increasing our sourcing outreach, working strategically with our departments and divisions to understand their needs and assess their vacancies, to help them move more expeditiously and efficiently and intentionally with recruiting the best and brightest talent, while also focusing on retaining quality faculty and staff at the university. We've been evaluating our compensation policies and practices, and we've had a number of opportunities to address closing the gaps that we've experienced with our faculty and staff in the market, being intentional about evaluating our compensation structure. We've certainly had legislative market adjustments in 21 and 22, and legislative market increases just last year, bringing critical infrastructural positions up to 95% of the market. And we've seen a number of conversions in professional positions, which have allowed us to move to higher salary ranges to continue to be competitive among our peers. We're definitely focused on improving health and benefits and those outreach with our vendors, who are excited to continue to expand the options that they provide for us for assistance programs and services. And so we continue to capitalize on those partnerships, bringing more opportunities to the campus employees. And that means we're taking a more dedicated approach to employee wellness. This is a constant conversation that we're having at the cabinet level and beyond. And then finally, I would say, Todd, that we are also focused on developing our managers and our employees. I think that's very critical when we talk about professional development as an opportunity for retention, but also for attracting talent that wants to continue to grow with the university. And that collaboration that we are doing with our campus in all of those different ways and more are helping to improve our recruitment and our retention for the university as we continue to move towards one of the best place to work rankings and an employer of choice.
We'll stick with you for one more, Veronica. This questioner says, current students and faculty, more than alumni, represent a real-time perspective of campus morale. In both cases, they rated their experiences low. What efforts are being taken to retain great teaching talent and recruit professors and staff for the growing population?
A great question. And I think it's tied back to a lot of the things that I just mentioned when we talk about compensation, professional development, training, working strategically with our deans and chairs and leadership and executives across campus to help identify and understand the needs of our campus employees, whether those are student employees or faculty and staff. So focusing on those particular items have allowed us to really improve opportunities around retention as well as recruitment. And we certainly have an opportunity to gain meaningful feedback through an employee engagement survey that the UNC system helps to host for us every 2 years. Provides very important feedback that we take seriously and utilize that to help improve our campus engagement and the experiences of our employees.
Great, thank you very much. Let's move back to Vice Chancellor Pompey for these next two questions. We covered a lot of ground in the master plan presentation. These questions relate to Barbie and Van Story halls. Can we share once again the plan for renovating those halls or replacing them?
Yeah, so the long-term plans definitely call for us to decommission Barbie and Van Story. Barbie was the newest residence hall when I came to North Carolina A&T in 1983. That means it's really served its purpose very significantly. As we continue to build new residence halls, then we will decommission those halls. So that will be further out into the future. Thank you.
One more question here. Is there more for that one?
Mm-hmm. Nothing else.
Okay, one more question here. Will we rebuild the A&T fountain? We
definitely will look to rebuild the A&T fountain. It is a very popular fountain. I just recall when we win significant games and events, our students have a good time jumping into that fountain. So we definitely value that.
And I'm sorry, just two more here, Mr. Pompey. Are there plans to expand our football stadium? And what are the plans on the new band facility?
Okay, so maybe I'll let Earl speak to the football stadium and what we're planning to do there. And then I will kind of follow up and talk about the band facility. Earl, you okay with that?
You bet, Mr. Pompey. Thank you so much. Thanks, Todd, for the question. Yes, football, as Robert described in his earlier presentation, impacted in at least two ways. The first will be a nearly doubling of the Bryan Fitness and Wellness Center in terms of its footprint and the level of service and accommodations we're able to provide for our student athletes in that space, with additional locker rooms, additional weight rooms, additional training and support services and equipment opportunities, as well as lounges and academic space for our student athletes in what we know today as Bryan. Again, that will nearly double in size. And then Mr. Pompey referenced a structure, a 3 or 4 story structure that will be built behind the south end of the stadium in the horseshoe. It will come up the hill and go up behind the stadium, and with that top floor looking over the back of the stadium, which will house most of the athletics administrative functions, as well as some coaches' offices, some locker rooms, some retail space, Hall of Fame space, AAF space, so that it will become the central hub for athletics down there at the football stadium, at Truist Stadium. So those are the plans for football stadium.
Right. And as far as the band center is concerned, we very recently acquired a facility that's currently next to our existing band facility. It's approximately 60,000 square feet, if I remember correctly. Our goal is to perform a very extensive modernization of that facility. We've been working very closely with Dr. Ruff and team on this concept, not only for what we're going to do with the band, but other operational types of improvements. So definitely more to come on that, but that is our plan. And when you drive down Lindsay Street, we hope in the next few years that you're going to see a tremendous band facility that we're all very proud of.
Great, thank you very much, Mr. Pompey. Let's go back to Provost for one here. This questioner says, one of the greatest expenditures in the United States and the world is on animal science and nutrition. Are there any professional career R&D or grants being geared toward this venture? And the questioner specifically wanted to hear from you on this, Provost.
Oh, yes. I mean, goodness, there are a whole lot of several federal agencies who fund R&D research in animal science and similar areas. Obviously, Ag and Environmental Sciences is one of our oldest programs, right? We know that the USDA and National Institute for Food and Nutrition, NIH, others fund animal science research. So quite a number of ventures are going on our campus. Our ag research is quite strong and they continue to grow, and it isn't just based on the appropriated dollars, but also they have been increasing and significantly their extramural research dollars that are competitive. So there's plenty out there, and the R&D from ag, and particularly with their new PhD program, is really going to be a big driver for us as we move to R1. Did I answer that question?
Yeah, you did great response, Provost Smith-Jackson. What I would add as well is the increasing level of funding support that we get from the state of North Carolina as matching dollars for our ag research funds that we gain every year as a land-grant institution from the U.S. Department of Agriculture, as well as extension funds that support our research in agriculture. And that includes nutrition that supports the families as part of the expanded work that we do throughout North Carolina as part of the ag land grant mission of our institution. And before the legislature at this moment is a request to increase more substantially the matching dollars that supports the federal dollars we get for ag research and ag extension as well. And so we expect to see at least a doubling of our matching dollars currently in the legislature at this moment that support these initiatives as well. It may be larger than that based on our continuing negotiations and conversations with our state legislators as well. So great question, but it also focuses, as your question does, on the increasing role and responsibility of A&T as a significant land-grant institution to the state of North Carolina and beyond.
Thank you, Chancellor. And for this next one, we'll go to our Vice Chancellor for Information Technology, our CIO, Tom Jackson. Tom, this questioner asks, Are there plans to upgrade the Wi-Fi network at A&T? There appear to be consistent concerns among the current students related to the Wi-Fi connection around campus, which significantly impacts students' use of technology and their ability to work efficiently on their devices.
Well, thank you for the question, Todd. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sure can.
University is in the middle of a $9 million investment in upgrading its campus network. We completed upgrading our wireless network in the residential halls in this past January, and we are focusing right now on upgrading the network in our colleges and academic buildings, and our administrative buildings will follow. So we are making fairly substantial improvements in our network, especially our wireless network. This is actually the first phase of upgrades. There will be a second phase that we move into once this phase is completed.
Great, thank you, Tom. Provost, let's go back to you for one more here. A questioner asked for you to please address the student success rate as reflected in our 6-year graduation rate. What is being done to see that students who enroll also graduate?
Yes. So certainly we have metrics for student success, 4-year graduation rates, 5- and 6-year graduation rates. We are increasing every single year. We keep a scorecard. We set targets, and we, of course, are facilitating student success in multiple ways. We have a Center for Academic Excellence that provides coaching and support for students. Also, we are making sure that we have technology to support advising. So DegreeWorks is a new technology that we deployed this past fall as a pilot and fully 100% in spring semester, this semester. And DegreeWorks helps both faculty and students track their progress towards degree, and it automates some of the complexities in the curriculum. For example, checking to make sure a student has met the prerequisite requirement before taking a course. Or if it's a C or better course, it will flag if they don't make that C or better. So students aren't caught off guard in the last minute. We use DegreeWorks now for graduation clearances, and those are done not just right in their senior year, but the graduation clearance now or the simulations can be run during their junior year so that they can make plans as well so that they remain on track. There are other things that we're doing, looking at the holistic aspects of students and making sure that their experience is better. Because we know that as long as students are having a positive experience, they don't disengage. They'll continue to go to class. They'll continue to engage with their professors. They will do well academically. There's a host of other things too that we are doing towards student success. And you can find some of that on our Center for Academic Excellence website.
Great, thank you, Provost. We have a pair of questions here that I'll come to you for, Chancellor, and set these up really quickly in the following way. The questioner says, Chancellor Martin made a statement from a study conducted by Forbes about the amount of money that the state owes NC-A&T. And we have a second question that echoes that as well. The Forbes article looked at funding for land grant institutions, both PWI land grants and HBCU land grants. And in states like North Carolina, where there is one of each, they looked at the amount of funding in the funding formula given to NC State from 1987 to 2020. And then they looked at the amount that was given to A&T, and they said, how much more would A&T have received if it had been funded at the same funding level as NC State? That number, without any adjustment for inflation, was $1.9 billion over that span. Adjusted for inflation, it was $2.8 billion. Chancellor?
The study certainly recognized all of the 1890s in comparison to the 1862s in the respective states. There are 19 of those 1890s, centers of North Carolina A&T. We were at the top of the list of roughly $8-9 billion underfunding in comparison to NC State. That document, as a report, has been reviewed by not only our board, but members of the Board of Governors, the president of the university system, whom I've had lots of discussions about it, as well as members of the legislature. What we've also had very recently is a panel discussion on our campus about 2 weeks ago, led by Adam Harris, who is the author of The State Must Provide. And he is a scholar in residence on our campus. And his book is the book of choice for being reviewed by our freshman class for this year. So it made a great conversation for us to, again, educate our constituency about the whole notion of being underfunded as an HBCU in general, and certainly as a result of the comparison to the Forbes report. We've explored a variety of options here. One is the legal option of suing the state of North Carolina to garner back levels of funding from the state of North Carolina. We've seen evidence of suing various states that other public HBCUs have taken about lack of funding. State of Maryland, the state of Tennessee, with Tennessee State as an example. And the length of time it has taken for those lawsuits to come to closure or bear any potential fruit. Students at Florida A&M, as an example, this past fall, filed a lawsuit in the state of Florida, indicating that the state of Florida has underfunded Florida A&M in comparison to its comparable land-grant institution, University of Florida. The challenge is that these lawsuits, one, get drug out over several decades, and in many instances, they bear very little fruit for the institution. So it angers people. We're angered by underfunding of our institution historically over time. So what we have, in a more substantial way, taken a more aggressive strategy for helping the state of North Carolina through our conversation with the president of the university system, president of the board of governors, and members of the legislature. We often and regularly engage the legislature about the level of funding for our institution. This will take more time, but I'm going to essentially share specifically. What we have sought to do is find ways in which we enable the state of North Carolina to fund our university with benchmarks. One bench that will then over time bring forward to our university a higher level of state appropriations, what we call continued funding, as opposed to non-recurring or recurring funds, as opposed to non-recurring funds. An example of that would be all land-grant institutions get a level of research funds from the federal government, as well as extension funds from the federal government, and each state is required to provide a level of match to those dollars to support the work of that land-grant institution. NC State has historically received multiple dollars of state appropriations for every $1 it gets for ag research and ag extension. Only in the last 4 years have we been able to push the legislature with level of support to move our match for our university from 80 cents on the dollar of state funding for match to at least $1 for dollar match. We have now moved that conversation to a level of request from the president, board of governors, and the legislature to move our match from the state of North Carolina to $8 for ag research for every $1 of research we get from the federal government, because that's what NC State gets. We've asked the legislature through the board of governors and the president to move our match for ag extension from $1 of match to $3.40, because that's what NC State gets. In essence, we've asked the state of North Carolina, the board of governors, president, and legislature to move our match for ag research and ag extension from the state of North Carolina to be equitable with what NC State gets. There was an issue understanding that they didn't know that inequity existed. They know that inequity exists today. So the Board of Governors, the President agree that over time, we must be moved to an equitable level of funding that NC State gets for ag research and ag extension for our university as well. Now, if we moved immediately to that level of ongoing match for our university, $8 for ag research, $3.4 for every dollar of ag extension that NC State gets, that would be a difference of about $60 million recurring every year. And so the legislature has in its budget today a request from the President and the Board of Governors to move our match toward at least now $2, and ultimately we're negotiating with that being $3 for every $1 of match. That, and then over time that moved toward. And if you add that up over time, we'll begin to make up some of that difference. We're never, ever going to make up that $2.9 billion of difference, ever. No lawsuit or any other strategy is going to make up that difference. We know why that difference exists. No legislator nor the governor is going to accept responsibility for making up that difference. It's just not going to happen. So what we're seeking to accommodate is a plan that moves our university toward more equity for our land-grant institution, consistent with NC State as a land-grant institution as well. And with that match, it moves us to a more competitive level of funding for our university. We continue to have these discussions extensively with the President, Board of Governors, and the state legislature, and we're beginning to see a more substantial level of response from this Republican legislature in supporting our university.
Thank you, Chancellor. We're out of time for questions here. I'm going to hit three very quickly with some summary answers. First of all, we had several questions about the cottages, which is where the shooting death took place earlier this week. And the question is simply, have we looked at getting rid of that housing? Well, it's not housing that's owned by the university, even though it's close to the university and some of our students live there. It's not housing that we own. So we continue to try to exert as much influence as we can to push the management company to do a better job with safety and security on campus. Second, one of our questioners asked, how did we select alumni for the grant survey that we did? Well, we didn't select them. We sent out an invitation to all alumni to participate in it, and the alumni self-selected. So those who had something to say or wanted to make sure their opinion was known took the survey, and we were very grateful for all of those responses from alumni who did. And the last question is this: can I get access to a recording of this fine forum tonight? Yes, you can. We are recording this, and we'll make the Zoom recording available on the Alumni Relations website very quickly here, and we'll certainly share with you when that link is available. We want to thank all of the alumni on the call tonight for incredible questions, and for all of our panelists for really fine answers as well. So let me hand things back over to Crystal Boyce to wrap us up here. Crystal.
Awesome, Todd. Thank you so much. And thank you to our cabinet members, administrators who have joined us tonight and presented directly to our alumni. Thanks to each of our alumni from across the world who joined us tonight. You are the greatest alumni on earth. We appreciate all you have done, all you will do to support our beloved alma mater, North Carolina Agricultural and Technical State University. We want you to continue in excellence. We know that Aggie Pride again stands for achieving great goals in everything, producing renowned individuals dedicated to excellence. Thank you so much for joining, and Aggie Pride.